Alright, so it was requested that I make a more in-depth video on how to do the lighting for Game Boys, for Game Boy Colors, to do the button lighting. So I'm going to go ahead and try that here. So on this shell, I already trimmed it for the IPS screen that I'm going to put in it. But this is not a tutorial for that. This is just for the button lights. Let's see here. So yeah, for that, I usually just start with cutting the cutouts on the buttons, or on the shell itself for the buttons. So let me show you what I do there. I just get in there with the flush cutters, and for the A button, I just go right down below there, underneath it. And I usually cut it a bit wider than is actually necessary because it seems to allow a little bit more light through. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Well, I broke that. Well, maybe not. But that's a risk we're having to take. So I might have accidentally broke that there a little bit. But it should be fine. It's still got the stabilizers on the other side, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, the LED is gonna sit right there and just shine through right there. So that's where I do that one for the A button, and then on the B button, I usually get it right against that screw post there. Just cut that, and I cut that pretty wide too, and then I can just pull that right out there. And that one did the same thing. I got it, bent it a little bit, but that's fine. Yeah, that one's coming off on the A button. Oh well. On that other one, on that other Game Boy, I cut out on the bottom of the D-pad, and that's what I've been doing, but I recently found that I can cut out over here, because if I cut it out here, the Game Boy board tends to push on that LED and like the hot glue that I put there, and it separates it a little bit. It can't get all the way down. So if I put it over here, it actually gets it at an angle, and it seems to light up the whole D-pad a little bit better. So let me cut that out there. And the shell is pretty malleable. One of these extreme rate color change shells. They're all pretty good. They're all made of the same material and just painted differently. So they're pretty soft to cut and just maneuver how you need. And then the start and select, I start by just cutting right in the middle there. And I'll do that again on the other side of this, in the middle. And then I'll go just a little bit in there and there. And then I kind of just wiggle that out. Sometimes I'll get some pliers and do it, but this is working with the flush cutters to just kind of pull out the excess plastic. Kind of just gotta get in there a little bit and just kind of cut at it until you get it enough out of there. It doesn't have to be perfect, because the light's just gonna reflect all in there and get in the start and select button. But there you go. You kind of see what I did there. But yeah, so those are the cuts. Those are like the only cuts I make for it. That's one of the simplest parts of it. But yeah, let me see. So yeah, let me get my LEDs and my wires ready, and then I'll show you what I do there. All right, got my LEDs here and my resistors over here. Can you see that? Yeah. Let's see. So I got 5 LEDs. I'm going to do 4 of them down here with the buttons, and then I'm going to do one up in the battery LED area. My resistors for this are the 430 ohm resistors for these RGB LEDs. Let's see. Yeah, these are just the ones that it came with, and they provide enough, I guess, resistance just for it to shine bright enough, and it works really well. I had another, I'm doing a copy of one that I've already done, and that works really well. For the battery LED, I actually use a higher resistance resistor because it needs to be a lot dimmer since it's just shining directly out at you. I'll probably use like a 10,000 ohm resistor on that one. That seems to, well, we'll see. I'll try that and we'll see if that works. On another LED, like a white LED, I would use a 47,000 ohm resistor because I tried stepping up a little bit at a time, and 47K was the one that worked the best for that. And it seems to be anything other than the RGB. I'll use a 47K ohm resistor for the battery LED, and for like a white LED or a blue LED, I'll use 3,000 ohm resistors on the buttons. But the RGB ones are different since they do change color. They need a bit different power input, I guess. So that's just something to note. But yeah, so for these, what I'll do, turn my soldering iron on. To start, I will, let's see, I'll cut my LED down so so it's not like taking up way too much room here. So I'll just cut it right there. The long end, I'll cut it. You can see a little, let's see if it'll focus there. You can see the little indent that it has there, and I'll just cut right above that. And then for the shorter one, I'll just cut right below it. And I mean, you can really cut them as short as you like, but that's how I do it, just so I can know whenever I'm putting the wires on there. So for the wiring, what I'll do is I have my wires here, my 30 gauge wires. Let's see, I'll put a link in the description for these. These work really well. I know some other people that have tried the button lights. They've used some 30 gauge wires that were a lot more stiff, so it didn't work out really well. These are very flexible and malleable, and you can maneuver them exactly how you need through the Game Boy shell. So yeah, I highly recommend these wires. You get way more than you need, but it's not too expensive. Maybe you can find a smaller pack that just gives you like one color, and then you can figure that out. But this worked well for me because I'm doing a lot of these Game Boys. But yeah, so let me show you how I do that. You don't want to have them too long, because then I need to swap these. You don't want to have the wiring too long, because then you're just gonna have excess wires, and it'll just take up space that you need in the Game Boy. So what I'll do is I'll get the red and the blue, or red and black, or just, you know, whatever two wires you want to use for positive and negative or neutral, and I'll just measure it out. I'll start pulling on it and roughly go about where the wires are going to go, and so that'll be about right. These, I'll get that and just cut them at the same time with these wire strippers. They have little scissors on them, or cutters at the end, if you will. And then I cut it down. Actually, I like to go a little bit more. I'm just tapping there to get the exit, to get the little insulation off the stripper. So there we go. other end. Alright, so now I'll get my LED that I cut a minute ago, and I will take the red wire and I'll just grab the wire, the exposed wire with this hand, and then just kind of twist it with this one just to stiffen it up a little bit, so the individual little wire strands don't go all over the place. And what I'll do is I will put it through like this, and then let's see if you can see that. Put it through. Let me see. Like that, and I will just kind of grab it and wrap it around. See, it's kind of difficult, especially when I'm making a video. So I'll put it through and just kind of press on it with this finger and try and wrap it around there. As good as possible. So there, it's kind of wrapped around that long post there. And then what I'll do, let's see, do I have any solder here? No. Okay, so then I'll just get down here with it and solder it on. And they're a little shaky right now. There we go. So now I got that soldered on there. That shouldn't be coming off anytime soon. Alright, and then I'll do the exact same thing with the blue wire. It's a little bit more difficult, just because the post. Actually, let me go switch off my AC real quick. Oh, it is off. Alright. Just didn't want that turning on and ruining the audio. Alright, then we do the same thing on this end, and just kind of wrap it around there, just to get it secure enough to get it soldered. You don't have to wrap it around if you don't want to, but it helps secure it if you don't have the proper tools, like one of those clamp things to hold everything, which I don't. I probably should get, but I don't have it. Alright, got that on there. Alright, and so yeah, we have the wires on the LED itself, and you could just solder the resistor directly to the LED if you wanted. That's not the way I do it. I put it on this end of the wire for no good reason. That's just how I do it. So I'm just going to trim down the resistor. And what I like to do for this is I will get my needle nose pliers and grab one end of it there, and just twirl it around, make a little loop with the resistor. And then I can do this. I can just thread this end of the wire through there and just kind of loop it over onto itself so it's kind of secure there. And once again, that's just to get it soldered on. Let me get that solder there. There we go. That should be nice and secure on there. Alright, so now we have the first LED done, and basically it's the exact same process for all four here. I just measure it out how it needs to go, and this is how this one's going to go. Show you. Just go. I figured out this route works pretty well. Doesn't get in the way of anything. Go around, start, select, down there, and I'll usually, while I'm doing it, I'll tape it off. Right there, where's my, there it is. I'll just kind of put it there, and because I don't want to hot glue it just yet. I'm just kind of securing it there for now. Just temporarily tape that down. All right. Let me get my buttons. And we're just going to do a test real quick here. This is typically what I'll do. I'll test it just to make sure. Oh, there goes that. Oh, magnetic pliers. There goes that little piece there. I'm just going to take it out. It's not going to help anything at this point. A button. That little piece there needs to be bent just ever so slightly. See how it's kind of sticking there when I push it up. Don't want that, so I just need to just bend in that so these aren't restricting the button at all. It's hard to tell really. Okay, there we go. It's not going to go that deep anyway, so. Okay, yeah, let me, and now we're just going to test to make sure that LED is lighting up and looking good there. See if I can position it a little better. Yeah, there we go. So close it up, that'll work. Just put that on for now, just to. And I'm going to replace that with just a white membrane there because it reflects way better than these blue ones. Okay, put one of these down just to keep it in place. This is the first time I'm putting a screw in this hole, so it's basically tapping itself. Okay, there we go, that's in there. Okay, so yeah, so this one, let me put some solder on these points, or a little more on there. Okay, so it'll be like in my other video I showed. It's going to be the positive will go here on this top one, and then the negative or the neutral will go down to here, to that bottom one. So just gonna do that real quick. Okay, and I don't have a screen in here, obviously. They're just testing the one. We plug it in here, and boom, got that going. You see it's changing there. Super bright. These RGB ones seem to work really well. And these extreme rate shells, you don't have to tape off the inside or anything. They just naturally don't allow light through. Oops, I was touching the wire there. It was resetting the LED. They naturally just don't let light through, so you don't have to tape it off. So that's something nice about these. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. They just make good shells, I think. So, and there's a couple of regular Game Boy shells that are standard what am I trying to say? Factory Game Boy shells that don't allow the light through, like this teal one. I didn't have to tape that off or anything. It's just not shining light through the shell itself naturally. So that's something to consider, I guess, if you want to if you don't want to bother with taping it off. But yeah. So yeah, it's basically just going to be the same process for all the other ones in there. All the LEDs, you just measure out the wire, solder on the LED, and then you don't have to test each one. If you don't have to test it at all, I just like to make sure it's working. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do that to the rest of them, and then I'll show you the next process, which is going to be hot gluing, I believe. But yeah, so let me get that all set up here. All right, I got all the LEDs cut and put in there and soldered together, as you can see. And I got I got them all in there. And let's see, so now I have my hot glue gun. It's already heated up. And the way I do this is basically I just hold it. Let's see if I can show you. Just hold it in place where I want it to be pointing. And you basically want to point the LED where you want it to shine, because it's most bright directly in front of it. So for the A button, I basically just get as close to the screw post as possible and shine right into the to the buttonhole there, and then I just put a bunch of hot glue on the posts, basically, instead of the LED itself, on the little legs that it has, and that holds it in place. And then I just kind of have to hold it there until that hot glue cools off enough to solidify. And you can sometimes blow on it or just put some canned air to cool it off. Just let it sit. All right, there we go. You can see I have the LED there pointing directly at the A button. See if we can get a better angle of that. But yeah, it's pointing right into the hole we cut there. So yeah, when we get that wired in, powered on, it should be shining through just great. And I'll do the other ones, basically the same thing. Just gonna hold down the B light now, B button light. And it will be kind of stringy with the hot glue. I kind of push it on there and wipe it off on the shell itself to kind of cut the strings off, if that's possible. Sometimes it just comes way out. I just kind of have to deal with that. But yep, just hold it there again. Just let it cool off enough to solidify in place. And if you need to, while it's liquid, you can just put the glue on there and then just kind of maneuver it to get it exactly how you need it, and then just hold it in place. And needle nose pliers are really good for this, holding it down, because you just get it right in there right as you need it. You can use pretty much anything. If you can use your flush cutters if you wanted just to hold it, using them like pliers essentially. But these long needle nose are really good for this if you have them. So I think that should be cool. All right, got that in there. Should be shining through great. Let me make sure that B button's gonna work well for that. Okay, yep, that's not sticking at all. That's good. I'll take these out for now. Okay, same thing for the D-pad. For this one, you really want to make sure, try and angle it so you're getting as much area of the D-pad as possible. So kind of maybe point it like exact opposite, and that should get you a lot of coverage, because that'll light it up a lot better than if you just shine it directly somewhere. You want to get as directly across from the LED as possible, just so it can shine, it can light up as much of the D-pad as possible. Yeah, there it is, a little stringy. That's all right. While I'm holding this here, oops, you can see I still move it a little bit. Oh shoot. There we go. But that's, I messed up there a little bit, but it's still liquid, so I could still move it, so that's fine. But while I'm holding that, I'll just show you. I routed these wires in between for the A and the B button lights. Actually, I don't know if you can see that. Can you? You cannot. For the A and the B buttons, I routed the wires right through there. That feels like a good spot to do it, because it's not getting in the way of anything. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, it's just going through there, not getting in the way of anything, comes right over here. And then that one, got that in there. You see it's pointing. That's pretty good. Good enough, anyways. So, yep, that'll light that one up. And for the start button, start and select buttons, I really like this. And on other ones, on the non-RGB LED ones, I forgot to mention this, you do want to use a different resistor. I should go back and mention this, but you want to use a different resistor for the D-pad. You want to use something lower resistance. So what I've been doing is I'll use 3K ohm resistors on A, B, and start select. And those are all the same. And then on this one, I use like a 1,000 ohm resistor, just so it'll shine a little bit brighter, because it does have to light up the whole D-pad instead of just like one button. It's not the worst thing in the world if you use a 3K on this one. That's what I did on my first one, and it seems to be fine mostly. And it also depends on the LEDs, so you may just have to experiment a little bit to find what works best. I think I said in one of my other videos that I didn't see a difference between 1K and 2K, or 3K and 2K between them, and I didn't, but the less resistance you have, the brighter it will be, up to a point. But that's just something to keep in mind. So for those pink LEDs on that other Game Boy, I did 3K, 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 1K, and then 47K up here for the battery LED. So just something to keep in mind. So yeah, well, let me go ahead and put this one in here. So what I'll do for the start and select, I'll put it just right in that middle spot, and that does not interfere at all with the buttons. They are able to go around it just fine. And we just hold it in there and hot glue it in. Just hold it, push it down a bit. Just trying to stabilize it, get it flat in there as much as possible. And just gotta wait. Hot glue on my knife there. Oh, it's still a bit liquid. There we go. Okay. Okay. So now you see I just stuck it in there, and just stuck it right in between and hot glued it in. And let me get the actual buttons here and show you it's not actually getting in the way. So yep, that goes down just fine. So it's still flush. All these wires going around it. When we're flipping it, when we're routing the wires around in a bit, these will come up. These wires will come up and try and interfere with this. So you just got to keep an eye out for that. But yeah, as long as they're all going around it, should be fine. Doesn't actually get in the way of these buttons at all. You can see inside there maybe how it's completely avoiding it. So yep, just wanted to point that out. So all right, yeah, let me put this all together with the Game Boy, and yeah, I'll show you that next. All right, I actually forgot about the battery LED. I have another video covering that specifically, but I will go ahead and show it here as well. Just basically very similar to these LEDs, but we're not going to cut this. We're not going to cut the legs on this one. You can. There's not really a need to though, but we're going to bend them about 90-degree angle because it's going to be sitting right there, right in the battery LED hole. And let's see here. And having them long like that makes it easier for the wires to work. But we want to do this. Do the same thing. Just measure out how long you need it to be. And this doesn't have to be as exact because it doesn't have to go all the way down to the bottom. It can kind of just loop up over the side if you want it to. It doesn't really matter. But you can do however you see fit. Let's see. So get that. Cut that there. Soldering iron. And actually, I'll do this part and then I'll get this all soldered up and then I'll come back and show you what I'm doing. All right, I got that wired up. Same thing as before. Just want to bend down the legs and then solder it on. I like wrapped it around. It's easier when they're longer. And then I put a 10K ohm resistor on this one since it is going to be in the battery compartment and needs to be brighter, or not as bright as the button ones. So yeah, basically for this, I'll just stick it in there with the 90-degree angle there, stick it in there, and then feed the wires down here. And then I will get a piece of Kapton tape, and you can use electrical tape or just whatever tape you have, I guess. The tape doesn't really conduct electricity, but this is good. This is very thin tape, Kapton tape. So get a piece of this, just to tape it down, just to keep it in place. And also to insulate these legs, which I guess you could cut them off to prevent any shorting at all, but this is just, I don't know, this is easier, I guess. And then you need to actually cut off all of these little posts here, including the LED. You can desolder the LED here if you want, but I'm not going to do that. It's useless after. It's useless to me. I mean, you might want to reuse it for something, I guess, but just wiggle it off there. There we go. And then cut off the excess little pieces there, and then you want to cut off all these here. And I also go cut off these. I don't know if that's necessary at all, but you do need to cut these off because it's just kind of, it presses on it too much, and it kind of messes up the LED if you don't. I mean, you could probably get away with it. I don't know. I always cut them off. But when I'm doing it, I just put it on there and cover it with my hand because they do shoot up. So when you're doing all this, make sure you're careful. Either wear some safety glasses or just regular glasses or something, just to make sure that these don't shoot up into your eyes. Okay, well, I guess I got those. And this big one here. Those big ones are the ones you really need to keep an eye out for. I'll go ahead and get these as well. All right, so that's a lot more flat. You can still feel it, it's still rough, but it doesn't really matter. Get that there. And then I like to put a piece of Kapton tape on there as well, just to double down on that insulation of the LED legs, just to see how long that needs to be. Okay, there we go. So yeah, just do that. And then we're gonna, let's go ahead and put down the white membranes. So I can show you about those. And these always come with the start and select as well, so I have a ton of extra of these. Just a side note, I guess. All right, so get the buttons. Got B, A, D-pad. Oh, also for the D-pad, I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I'm putting an IPS screen, so you got to cut off the top of it. It will interfere with the IPS screen. Oh, and that's another reason I meant to mention. I'm putting the LEDs for the D-pad down here, either down here or right here, and I think right here is the best place because it seems to be working the best. Instead of like up here at all, I'm not putting any up here because the screen for the IPS screen comes all the way down here and cuts into this a little bit. So I don't want to put any extra wires up there, so I'm trying to do it all down here. On the DMG, I can do LEDs on both two sides of the D-pad, and it looks really good. But it'd be a lot more hard to do it in the Gameboy Color just because there's a lot less space. But put that there. And these white D-pads are new as well. They're not from the 90s, so they're much springier. And then there it is. Didn't mean to throw the Game Boy there. I'm going to leave that tape in there, leave that tape down right there, because then there's this little power supply here. I guess it's a power supply, that's what I'm calling it. This little board here, that's the one I was mentioning earlier, that I don't want it pressing down on anything there because it might leave it raised up a bit. So I'll put that, I'm going to wire these, or route these wires around here. Speaker in there. And then there we go. I like to have all these wires coming up to this bottom cutout here because they can all fit. That works great. And so there's that. Got a bit of super glue on that. And I will screw this down. Don't want to strip it. Okay. And there's a couple of options we have here. What I've been doing in the past is just wiring each individual wire to the post. That can work just fine, and it has been working. So yeah, that can continue to work if that's what you want to do. And let's see, yep, got 5 whole ones here. But what I just did on another one, which seemed to work pretty well, and could be useful for potentially other applications, is I soldered all 5 of the resistors to one wire that I then just have this one red wire connect to this post here. That way I have the option to add a switch if I want to just turn off all the lights. I haven't done that yet. I I don't know if I will do that, but it is an option. So, and it also just makes it easier instead of having to go one resistor at a time to this thing and try and fit it in there. I can just do it over here and then just have the one wire connect, because when you're doing each resistor, they tend to pop out when you're trying to get more than one in there. They desolder themselves basically. So what I have done, what I just did, I will show you. I'll just loop it around and create a loop on all of the resistors. And then I will take this wire and strip off a big old chunk of it. Maybe even more than that. Just kind of twist it around to keep it all together. And I don't know if this is recommended or not, but I did it and it worked, so that's how I live my life. So I'm just going to pass this exposed wire through all these loops I made on the resistors. Maybe this is a harder way to do it. I don't know. Thread and a needle, kind of. Not nearly as hard, I think, though. But then, yeah, pass it through there and just kind of loop it around itself with all those in there. And then, what I can do is just solder all that together. I would not be surprised if I hear some people in the comments criticizing this. But it works. It's working on the other Game Boy. And I bet it's going to work on this one. Okay. It's a little hot. But there we go. It's all together. And it gives me the option. Just do all that. And what I also do is, since they are all so close like that, I like to insulate them with, let me show you, I didn't actually get a close-up of that. But yeah, I basically got all the ends of those resistors and got them all soldered up to this one wire here. And now, so you can see that's all the other ends of that are going to the LEDs, and then they go here. And so now I'm just going to insulate the other ends of these so they don't get into contact with anything else, because that can cause a short and cause issues. So it's going to be a long video. It's already pretty long, I guess, but this just takes some time. But when you're into it, it doesn't really, you don't really notice the time. Just put on a podcast and get to work, and then before you know it, you're done. So I'm just putting some Kapton tape around the side of the resistor that goes to the LED. That way it just insulates itself. You get it. Okay, got those all taped off there, so they shouldn't short out with anything. And just because it's like a big old clump like this, it's not a huge deal, because what I'll do is I will cut out this entire section here, entire section there, so you have plenty of space to fit all the resistors and everything in there. It doesn't seem to cause any issues. But let me strip this here. And now I can much more easily just have this one wire soldered to this one post. And then I can do the same thing with the blue wires, but it's a lot easier to just group those together and get them connected all at once, for whatever, just because they're, I don't know, wires instead of resistors. But let me do that here. I'll just do this short one. Should have made that a bit longer, I guess, but here we are. I'm still just doing them one at a time, even though I just said I could group them together, which I may still do. I think that one just came out when I was trying to get that one in there. These aren't as picky as the resistors. Definitely gonna be my longest video I've ever made. Be sure to share it if somebody's looking to put some LEDs on their Game Boy. Okay, I think we're all good. They all seem to be securely in there, so yeah, you can see got all my blue wires going to the bottom post, and all these ones going, all the resistors going to this one wire that goes to the top post. So let me power it on here. Just want to test the buttons. Plug that in. And let's see what we got. Hey, look at that, they're all changing. And these RGB LEDs, the ones that I got anyways, at first they're all synced together. Oh, look at that, that's cool looking. They're all synced together, but then see slowly they get out of sync, and then you get different colors all over the place. There we go. But you start to get a really cool effect after a while. They're all just changing at different rates, and you have different colors, and you get some really cool combinations going on. Like especially with the with this DMG, I put way more LEDs in this. So I got one on each of these. I have one on each side of this, one on each of the start and select buttons, and then one on each here, and that you just get some really cool combinations going on. So I recommend these if you're just looking for something really cool. Let's see. So yeah, I get some really interesting combinations there. Let's see if that one changes. I think it was changing a minute ago. Anyway, yeah, so that's basically it for the LEDs. That's basically all you need to know for that. And then you just put it all together, and yeah, you should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and I'll show you what it looks like with everything put together. Oh, you know what? I do need to show the shell trim a little bit, so it's not done. So give me just a minute there, and I'll come back to that. Let's see. Actually, I'll just show you. I don't need to cut or anything. So, yeah, just cut this out. It's basically, I guess, a structural piece. I don't know. But just cut all that out of there. Yeah, so let me put this together. And I know I'm missing those screws. I'm just putting it together so you can see in the video. Just want to get that in there right. You gotta maneuver it a little bit. You gotta kind of come in from the bottom and get everything in there right. And then that there we go. Get it all together there. And I'm still missing, I didn't put this metal piece on for that either, but that's fine for now. That is the wrong screw for that. I'm going to use the factory screws. They're tri-wing, but they work really well. I'm just going to put the middle ones in here. Instead of at the top and the bottom as well, just so we can get this. I believe I have some batteries somewhere. Here we go. Oh, and I need the I'm going to put a rechargeable battery in this one as well, but Esoteric Mods does a very, very in-depth video of that already, so I'm not going to cover that in this video. He does a couple of rechargeable battery videos. Definitely check him out if you somehow don't know about his videos and are watching this one. So yeah, I didn't put the power switch in, but that's fine. There we go. All lit up with the batteries in. No screen, obviously, but yep, got the battery. It got the LEDs functioning, glowing there, color change, everything. So yeah, that's basically that. But I'm still I'll go ahead and finish this up, and I'll just show you the final product, just so you can see it, see everything working together. All right, got it all put together. Got the white lens installed with the holographic thing. Let me just turn it on there for you. And you can see all the buttons are lit up there. I got the battery LED. The battery LED won't function as it used to, like it won't dim as the battery goes down, but I'm installing a rechargeable battery in it anyways, and that wouldn't work either way, so it doesn't make a difference, but here we are. Yeah, I made this for the Hard for Games YouTube channel. He does a lot of like talking about retro games and like rare stuff and game preservation. And he followed me on Instagram, and I just reached out to him and see if he was interested, and he wanted to get one of these Game Boys, so I figured I'd send him one that has all the features on it, and hopefully he'll give me a shout out or something. But shout out or something. But anyway, that's the whole video. Like I was saying before, if you know of somebody that wants to install these lights on the buttons like that, go ahead and send them a link to this or my shorter video that I did just explaining after the fact of what I did. But hopefully this was helpful for whoever was trying to get those installed. And yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks. Bye.